Hello, geeks. Do you mind if I proxy? Mrs. Davis is a new show on Peacock that premiered on April 20th. There were 13 episodes ordered for season 1, and we're currently on season 6 with new episodes premiering every Thursday. With new shows, I play by the rules of 3. That means I'll watch 3 episodes of a show to decide if I'm going to continue watching it or not. I am currently on episode 6, and although I don't really know what's going on, I'm very intrigued and want to continue watching. The basic premise is that there's this AI that has somehow managed to end famine, war, poverty, and basically world suck, for most people anyways. The AI named itself Mrs. Davis. Well, I'm not really sure if it named itself Mrs. Davis or if somebody else started calling it Mrs. Davis, but there is a lot of jokes of don't call it her, call it an it. There's also a line, my favorite line, that don't call it a her, don't give it a name. It's not like you're going to call Facebook Doug. From then on out, I'm like, I need to start calling Facebook Doug. And I think I might. Now, Mrs. Davis, the AI, communicates to everybody through their cell phones, mainly through an earpiece. So I'm not sure if the earpiece is actually what's making them do what she says, or if they just like what she says. She also allows you to earn wings. Now, these wings you don't actually see unless you have a special app on your phone to view the people, and then it shows the wings on your display screen. You earn your wings by doing various tasks for Mrs. Davis. On the flip side of the show, we have Simone the Nun, originally called Lizzie, short for Elizabeth. She is the daughter of some magicians. Through a series of events, found Jesus in the flesh, fell in love with him, and decided she wanted to marry him. And how do you marry Jesus? You become a nun. She meets up with him at a restaurant that he cooks at. And she often receives missions on magicians she needs to go after. And she receives these missions on the bill dolly that supposedly was written on by the boss. At the beginning of the series, Jesus sends Simone on a mission that he doesn't want her to really go to destroy Mrs. Davis, the AI. Now, Mrs. Davis has been waiting for Simone to come after her and has been sending messages through various people to talk to Simone in hopes that she would go ahead and do a mission for her. The mission that Mrs. Davis would like Simone to do is to retrieve the Holy Grail. Simone does agree to this, but only if the AI will destroy itself once the mission is complete. So, as I said, very weird, but yet intriguing. And I have some theories about what's actually happened. Anytime mother is mentioned when Simone is proxying or talking to Mrs. Davis, there's an error code that is repeated over and over again by whoever's proxying. That error code is 1042 Sandy Springs. I went on the internet to do some research to see what people are thinking that could be. And Sandy Springs is a city in the Atlanta area, so some people think that it refers to the King and Queen buildings, which are actually in Dunwoody. The show does refer to a lot of kings and queens in it, including King Arthur, but again, the King and Queen building believe is actually in Dunwoody and not Sandy Springs. But they are close to each other. But you know what other city is close? Roswell. And what if Mrs. Davis is actually programmed by alien to come down? Now, I know that technically it's Roswell, New Mexico that the aliens landed. What if instead this time they landed in Roswell, Georgia? As far as the number for the code, most people are just looking at the number 42. And as we know, 42 is the answer to life, the galaxy, the universe, everything. They're forgetting about the 10, unless they're thinking that that's binary knows everything, or the answer to everything is binary. I'm not quite sure. But the truth is that if you put the numbers together, 1042 is actually an error code relating to database servers. There's a communication error between the database server and the client. This makes a lot of sense because Mrs. Davis is supposedly all-knowing, so she would have all the data points and basically be a giant database. Now, for some reason, when mother is said, there seems to be a communication error. This could either be because there's a longer password that is needed to get into the Sandy Springs file, or perhaps it's just an unauthorized user, but something, I have a feeling that the 1042 has to do with not being able to access that part of Mrs. Davis. So the question is mother the password, part of the password, or the file name? But that also brings us back to, again, who created Mrs. Davis. I kind of was feeling at the beginning that it might have been Lizzie's/Simone's mom, and by doing so, her mom went crazy, but parts of that don't fit either. So I'm not quite sure what's happening. So I don't really feel like it's that way anymore. Another theory I have is that maybe everybody's actually inside like a VR simulator or like the Matrix, and that's why it's so kooky and weird and difficult to describe, and you don't really know what's happening. And it would also explain why you have a physical Jesus within the show looking for the Holy Grail and all this weird stuff happening. And maybe the error code is actually something with the Matrix being blurred, kind of like deja vu in the Matrix movies. All that being said, like this show, I don't really know how to rate it. If you enjoy mysteries and puzzles and twists and turns, I would definitely suggest watching this show. And remember, you have to give it at least 3 episodes to really give it a chance. But on the flip side, I don't feel like there's going to be a season 2. If they draw it out too much, people are going to lose interest and that intrigue's going to disappear. Hopefully, though, before the show gets canceled, we'll at least get answers. So if you have been watching Mrs. Davis, what do you think's going on? Let me know in the comment section below, and if you haven't, I hope you give it a chance. So until next time, geeks, don't forget to hit that like button, ring that bell, subscribe, share, comment, and all that fun things, and I'll see you next time. Bye, geeks.